Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast. Today is May 26th. We're going to have an awesome podcast because not only do we have our panel of Becky Alley and John Kolb in the top 1% of all mortgage originators in the entire United States, and Mr. Harvey Freed, host with the most of the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, heard every Saturday, 97.1 FM from 9 to 10. We have Kirsten Kroh, everybody. Kirsten Kroh from Keller Williams Living in Brighton, Michigan. Kirsten, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Snaps for Kirsten.
Snap, 10 snaps up. So in talking to Kirsten a little bit before the show, we were talking about the real estate market, and everybody knows, Kirsten, that this market is a little irrational. It's a little exuberant. And for what John, Becky, Harvey, and I, and our entire staff here at Capital Mortgage Funding have been going through, say, for the last, I would say, 11, 12 months, going into the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic. And now we are seeing in the state of Michigan, home prices up 12.4%. We are in all 50 states. For example, in Arizona, where everybody seems to want to move to, home prices are up 17%. In Florida, they're up over 13%. How about this? In Idaho, up over 20%. People are just moving to places and spaces that they want to be in. And you and I are talking about it. Let's talk about the current real estate market, where just the average conversation that you're having with everybody. And you gave me an example. What happens if a house, God forbid, is on the market for 14, 18 days? What's going on, Kirsten?
I swear people think something's wrong with it. And it's not even that necessarily is anything's wrong with it. It's just that it might need some updating, or it might not be that hot house. So I feel like the houses that are super hot right now and that are going into multiple offers, as soon as they say multiple offers, I feel like it just gets even crazier. And then people are coming up with these like 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 appraisal gap guarantees, which is mind blowing. I mean, I'm not willing to pay $60,000 over appraised value on a house personally. But again, I mean, the market's going to be whatever, the house is going to be worth whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. Right. So I think that's something to keep into consideration. But I mean, I'm telling my clients that have been looking for a while too, like if it's been on the market for 18 days, let's go check it out. Don't let it steer you away, because, you know, we might be able to, it might just be overpriced or something and people aren't willing to pay that. But I mean, if we could get it down a little bit, then let's do it.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Becky Alley, Kirsten is a realtor. She speaks our language. Her thought process is kind of like ours. And here we go with this irrational, crazy, exuberant market that we're all working in, Becky.
Yeah, like what she just said is it almost like as soon as people hear multiple offers, it almost creates more of a frenzy. It's almost like that human nature where you see people standing in line and you don't know what they're standing in line for, but all of a sudden I just want to stand in line because you're standing in line because something might be really cool at the end of this line. I don't know. And then the line is a $30,000 over asking purchase. And you're like, crap, I don't know if I wanted to stand in that line exactly. So I definitely don't disagree with what you're saying. You know, people want, as soon as people show interest, it almost just, you know, it creates that frenzy, which is also why you see a lot of these, right before it's listed, right? You guys advertise, you know, that's great marketing, right? To show a property before it even hits the market to create that frenzy. But I don't disagree with you. I mean, the houses that have been sitting for seven to 8 days, God forbid, right? Those might be the steals, because so what? They didn't put paint and it's not all gray and white inside. You now have that opportunity to make that property your own and then get away from that $30,000 asking price, because I'd rather pay $30 for some paint versus $30,000 over asking just because the property sat a little bit longer. So I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. And our behavior just in general is it's never going to change. I mean, but that's also good marketing too from, agents like yourself, where you're creating that frenzy before it even hits the market to, get the most money for the sellers. But then when you're representing your buyers, you also have to kind of be that devil's advocate and look at the opposite end of that spectrum on what's going to give them the best bang for their buck versus like losing, and not losing tens of thousands of dollars, in a bidding war.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I think that's an awesome discussion. And Kirsten, I want to go to John Colvin and kind of bring John Colvin in the discussion along with you and Harvey. But let's go to John. So, John, in kind of like, the vein of where do we think this continued lack of inventory is going? It's almost June. It's Memorial Weekend we're coming up on. And are we going to continue to see in your realtor community, John, are we going to continue to see this lack of inventory, or are we hopeful? And hope is never a great strategy. Are we hopeful that more houses are coming on the market? What's the reality of the situation, John? What are you hearing?
I mean, I'm starting to see more and more houses that are on the market for longer periods of time. And actually the last couple offers that we've got accepted, there aren't even appraisal guarantees on them. So it's starting to come back to a little bit of reality, which is nice to see, because that makes it a little bit easier for the first time home buyer and the people that can't come up with that $30,000-$40,000 appraisal gap. I had a long conversation with a client yesterday, first time home buyer, telling him that him only having 10 grand to come to the closing table is just not going to cut it right now. He's going to at least have to come up with some sort of $10,000, $15,000 appraisal guarantee on top of everything else just to offer. He may never have to use it, but have it in your back pocket just to be safe. So I see it starting to come back to a little bit of normalcy, and that's a good thing. And because let's get more and more offers accepted. Let's get more and more people out there active, so that people aren't just rushing to list homes and no one's working with buyers anymore. So, Becky's right. You can't have that gray and white background that you always want. I feel like Becky's looking at my background, throwing a slight, but
no, my house is gray and white too. I ain't talking crap.
Gray and white.
I got white all behind me. I'm good.
Gray and white.
Classic.
Yeah.
Kirsten Kroh, Keller Williams, living in Brighton. Kirsten, more houses on the market starting June 1. Same situation, same pressure on people to put their house on the market, same pressure on an upward trend in rising home prices. I mean, you tell us, what do you see?
I'm hopeful for more houses on the market. I've been doing some cold calling and stuff just for some of my buyers in the area, right? Like in the areas that they're looking. And I've actually gotten a couple of buyers into houses just by cold calling and asking people if they'll sell their house. I mean, that's where we're at right now. But I'm hopeful. I've sent out a lot of mailers and stuff to get people into, their houses. I think being realistic about it, I think some sellers think right now that they can sell their house for, their $300,000 house for $400,000 just because the house, the market is hot, which it's not the case. When I go into my listing appointments, I'm still very realistic about it. Like, hey, this is the value of your house. And I think even listing it at a more realistic price so that we can get those people in there. Whereas some of these houses that, again, are sitting for a while are the ones that are overpriced, and those people that think that they can get $400,000 for a $300,000 house. But I'm hopeful for more houses in June as school gets out and everything. I'm hopeful for that. But again, those people still have to find something too, right? So they're going to be in the same predicament. When they sell, they have to buy.
Yeah, Harvey Freed, you've been around for almost 30 years. You've seen hot markets. You've seen slow markets. What do you think is going to happen starting June 1 after the holiday weekend?
I'm sorry to say, I don't think it's going to be much better than what we're experiencing now. This real estate market's on steroids. It's like the 1998 home run breaking Mark McGwire's beating 62 home runs. We're on a 15-year appreciation, like it's going up like the highest ladder you could ever imagine. And again, like Kirsten said, the problem might be, it's not that we can't get more houses on the market. Where are they going to move? And I think that ultimately is really scaring some of the sellers. Harry, you and I looked at it and we talked about it last week. Maybe some of these, it doesn't help Kirsten's market. Maybe some of the sellers should consider adding on to their house or maybe hunkering down for a later date. But there's nothing in the market that says the prices are going to be down 6 months from now. They could even be higher, Kirsten, and interest rates could be higher.
Yeah, Becky Alley, I know that between Kirsten, Harvey Freed, and John Kolb, and you and I, and everybody here, we have so many pre-approvals sitting on our desk for buyers that are calling because, and I took a look at Kirsten's bio. She's a big believer in social media, in marketing, and getting everything out there. just like we are. That's why I knew she'd be a phenomenal guest today. We have so many buyers that are pre-approved. No realtor is going to go out and take buyers out to look at properties without having a pre-approval, correct?
That's correct. And, she said, the fact that she said that she got her buyers into some homes just from doing cold calling, that was a amazing thing that I just heard her say, because right now in this day and age, there's very few people that are going to be sitting around actually taking it old school, hitting the streets and cold calling. And I'm not above it. I don't care how successful I am. I'm not above dialing someone's phone, right? If your phone's not ringing, you need to be ringing someone else's phone. I'm a huge advocate of that. And that speaks volumes of her as an agent and how she's going to advocate for her buyers, because, it's very competitive out there. There is such a lack of inventory. Part of it has to do with the fact that the sellers don't want to be in the buyer's pool, right? Others have decided that they didn't want to get into the market and they've done cash out refinances, and everyone is renovating their home to make it, how they want. But sometimes that dollar amount, if they can sell it for the right amount, they would be willing to possibly consider a sale. And the fact that she's willing to roll the dice and make those phone calls speaks volumes of her. I mean, you can be overexposed. Is that really such a thing? I don't know. But, the more that you're out there, the more that she's advocating, someone's advocating for the buyers, you're going to have that success. And you might get 5 no's, but guess what? You get that 1 yes, and that's all your buyers need to hear. And that's huge.
Yeah, Becky, I like that about her. And here at our office, we believe in a lot of marketing. We've been doing a lot of marketing for over 32 years. We believe in being out there because you want to know something. We compete. We don't compete against everybody else in the market. We compete against ourselves, and we hold ourselves to a higher standard. So when we go ahead and pass out lists and we cold call, we call previous clients, we make connections. It's all about the relationships. And if you've got people in a very hot market making cold calls, what does that tell you about that person? A long time ago, when I first got into sales and marketing, one of my mentors, who I still call upon every single week, I make a phone call to this person. And one of the first persons he told me back in the day, yeah, I'm the old guy in the room. He told me, if you're still making calls at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon, you already have 85% of your competition beat, because they're all doing other things other than working at 4:30 on a Friday. So, Kirsten, we applaud you for making cold calls. We just started handing out, we hand out lists all the time for our people to call on. John Kolb, let's talk about all the sales calls that you made in the last few days.
Well, let's talk about how small that list is, and I can't even read it. That's how many names are on it. It's so good, though.
Thousands. And unfortunately, we can't, it's our IT guy. You got to talk to our IT guy, John.
So yeah, I mean, hey, it's, we're out there trying to make sure that people are all getting the benefit that they can. Whether it's low interest rate, taking some cash out to help save some money. I mean, over the last year, I've saved multiple families thousands of dollars on a monthly basis just from consolidating some debt and doing things the right way, using the equity that's now in their home to better their lives. And that's important to me because you're making a difference out there. So it's great, but at the same point, when I get that call and someone says, hey, I want to do this. If it doesn't make sense, I'm not going to do it. And I'm going to tell them that it doesn't make any sense. My line is I get paid to write mortgages, but if it doesn't make sense to John, then why would John do it? And then, that's how I have to go forward looking at it for people, because if I'm doing it the other way, then I'm just not doing a service for the industry, for the people out there. And I want to make sure to have a good rep instead of a bad one.
Yeah. Hey, Kirsten, how many times have you showed somebody a house where maybe you thought that they liked it, but you said, there's no way I'm going to let you buy this house? A lot.
Yeah. So I am not an agent that's going to sit there and say, don't get an inspection. That's the way you're going to win the house. When we bought our house, we did, my husband's a veteran, so we did it on a VA loan and everything. And we ended up having $160,000 worth of termite damage in our house that the sellers never disclosed. And all that was just finally fixed. And we bought our house 6 years ago. And this is why I got into real estate, was so that not for a paycheck, although it is one that is wonderful. But it was to actually like advocate for people and help people. So if the house is not something that is structurally sound and it's just cosmetics, and it's not just cosmetics, I don't say don't buy it, but in the way that, that we're supposed to. Just, you guys, this is not, and I'll go back to my story, like $160,000 worth of damage in my house that we had to repair and have our house jacked up. And like, it's just not worth it. There's no house even in this market, I don't care. It's not worth it. You don't want to settle. And that's one thing that I make very clear to my clients, like, don't settle. Cosmetics is one thing, don't settle, and don't skip your inspection ever. It's not worth it.
Well, you just hit one of our hot buttons, and Harvey Freed almost jumped out of his chair and through the screen. We always advocate an inspection, never waive it. And Harvey, can you imagine if somebody didn't check the appropriate box on that almighty seller's disclosure, and then they send the inspector in there? Harvey, do you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
I'll say this about it, Harry, for sure. The VA loans typically require a pest inspection, but we don't know the quality. So without getting into Kirsten's personal situation there, I have a feeling they went after that company pretty hard. And it's just a great point, Kirsten, and I'm glad you said that. Recently, I had a client say that to me. Harvey, I feel as if you really do care about me a little bit more. And it's really refreshing to hear the newer generation of real estate agents, 20 to 40 years old, all jammed in there, versus the old timers. The old timers are looking for that paycheck. You want to stay in this business, Kirsten, for another 20 or 40 years, and you want what's best for your clients. And I like that. Maybe more of you out there telling families, look, we know it's aggressive out there. You're willing to overpay, but how much are you willing to overpay? And let's not just settle for something, because like you said, Kirsten, you've already been there for 5 years. You're going to spend some time in this house.
Yeah.
I'd rather show you 100 houses than, and you be happy where you're at than to settle and, not be happy where you're at.
Yeah. Becky Alley, we wear our heart on our sleeve. That's why this show and our podcast and everything that we do, we call it the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, equal housing lender. I have to say that for compliance purposes. NMLS number 2289. But, we talk hardcore. A lot of times, maybe we're too honest, but I feel full disclosure and being honest, Becky Alley, that wins the day. And I think overall, doing this for as long as we have, I can tell you this, we've all been doing this for a long time. I'm never going to retire. I like it too much, and I don't do anything well enough other than this to retire too. But Becky Alley, I know you're in it to win it for all of your clients, and you try to give them the best advice. Ultimately, it's up to them. But we're going to tell them the do's and don'ts of applying for a mortgage and what we have to gather and all the, it's a painstaking process. We take a lot of documentation from people, don't we, Becky?
Yeah, I think that transparency is everything, whether it's good, bad, the in-between, and anyone can put lipstick on a pig, right? But at the end of the day, you're going to discover that was just a pig and some lipstick, right? And that's going to come back on whomever was trying to sell you on that. And we don't get down like that. I definitely don't get down with that. I'd much rather tell you what you need to hear versus what you want to hear, because at the end of the day, that no that someone tells you, or that unbiased advice, you have nothing to gain from saying yes or no. I just want to have a real conversation with you. People understand the difference. People are going to see the difference between someone telling them everything that they want to hear versus what they need to hear, because the next thing you know, you're buying a house that's got termite damage. Had someone really took the time to really advocate for you when you're on that purchase side of it, you might not be in that position. And the fact that that's your why speaks volumes of you. And the fact that, you're not losing sight of your why, of why you got in the business and why we do what we do. Everyone has different reasons, but definitely I take a lot of pride. We all take a lot of pride in treating our people like we would our family. If my family and I had nothing and I knew nothing about the mortgage business, that is how I handle every single person. And I have a success story. I just closed on a first-time home buyer. It was not an easy transaction. Even from a year ago, we started working on her credit. And you know, even her, you know, like she told me even her passwords for her bank accounts were own a home, you know, and, you know, because that just shows like what her goal was. And it was own, like in 2021, and we talked about it many nights, 12, you know, like 9 o'clock at night, I'm on the phone with her, telling her what to do with her credit and all that stuff. And we finally closed the loan, and she was so excited. And to hear that excitement, to be a part of that next milestone in her life that seemed to be something that was eluding her for so many years, and to finally for her to be able to get those keys, that was so rewarding to see her success in life. The fact that I was able to be a part of that forever says that's just why we do. That's my why, is being a part of someone's milestone, and they're never going to forget what you did, those extra steps, those extra calls, because everyone's busy. Okay, so what? Who cares if I'm the top 1% in the nation if I don't know how to answer my freaking phone? Okay, who cares if someone wants to shout out how many loans they close like a shooter? If they're not answering their phone, it doesn't matter. If they're not giving good advice, it doesn't matter. If they're not available, it doesn't matter.
I agree with that.
So,
Listen, for us here at Capital Mortgage Funding, and with Kirsten, we could already tell, you know, honesty, passion, enthusiasm, personality. If you don't have that honesty factor, and people aren't honest with you up front in the way, and you can tell right away if somebody has the honesty, passion, enthusiasm, and personality, and you want to work with them. We are all too experienced, and when I say that, I mean that in a good way, to waste time. We are not going to waste anybody's time. And I can tell you this, if you're going to waste any of our time and Kirsten's time, it's just not going to work. John Cole will not allow anybody to waste his time. Correct, John?
That is correct.
That is one of your biggest pet peeves, correct?
I got no time for that. Let's go.
Busy people, Harvey Freed, busy people don't want their time wasted. Let's just get down to the brass tacks. Tell us what the issues are, and we will solve the issues. Kirsten, what is somebody looking for in a house? You will find it for them, correct? You will go to all ends of the earth to make that person happy and fulfill whatever they need within reason. But let's be objective and let's be honest about it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's our job, right? That's my job, at least, is to find them their home. So whatever it takes, I'm going to do that, whether it is, you know, being on the phone, going door knocking, whatever it may be, to those houses in that particular area that they may be interested in. I mean, that's what I'm going to do, because that's my job. It's not just getting them set up on an automated search and letting them sift through them. That's not the market that we're in right now. And unfortunately, some agents are just relying on that, you know, to be their end all and be all. Even for sale by owners. I mean, I've sold plenty of for sale by owners also. So being their advocate in that is definitely huge as well. I mean, I'm going to show a for sale by owner tomorrow for, you know, on the water. So, but yeah, I mean, that is my job at the end of the day, is to find them their house, whether they're first time homeowners or not. So, and that's what I'm going to do, whatever it takes.
Excellent. We love that. Harvey Freed, for a minute, let's talk about refinancing and where interest rates are and why people are still not acting. Refinance activity has actually dropped a little bit. And last week, I quoted a stat. There's still over 50% of the people that could take advantage of a lower rate. They haven't done yet. Haven't done so. What are they waiting for, Harvey?
Yeah, I don't know, Harry, but I'll tell you what they need to do is hurry up and call us, and so we can break down the numbers. I discussed it a few months ago on the radio show. These amortization charts are just wonderful to look at. If families will sort of take a step back and spend 5 or 10 minutes on their family's financial happiness, because I'll tell you, there's nothing more important than really knocking some years off your mortgage, building equity in the house so that you can go and use that equity when you have to send the kids to college. So we really like the idea that you call a mortgage lender, if not us, call whoever you've been working with, and find out if you can drop 5 or 10 years off your mortgage. Take a look at that new house payment. And so many families have been calling us back and saying, boy, this is probably the best financial move I've made. So again, we constantly are urging anybody out there, friends, family, Kirsten, your clients who might have bought a house last year, the year before, they might even have an opportunity to save money in today's market and maybe even get rid of that mortgage insurance. So we just keep urging them, and hopefully more and more families will go ahead and do what they need to do to save some money.
Yeah, Becky Alley, if John Kolb's number one pet peeve is wasting time, my number 1A pet peeve is wasting time and money. So when people drive around looking for 3 cents off on a gallon of gas or $5 to $10 off when they buy a new home on a washer and dryer, and they're not taking care, they're driving all around to save $5 or $10 on a washer or dryer and 3 cents a gallon of gas when they're wasting thousands of dollars on not refinancing their home. Help me out. Please explain this to me. Yeah. I never could understand the whole phenomenon of saving 3 cents on a gallon of gas and $5 on a washer and dryer when you can lower your rate or take out cash out to pay off 18% toxic credit card debt, but you're going to save $3 on gas. Help me out with that.
I wish I had the answer for that, but I don't. Again, that's why people stand in line for things that they don't even know what they're standing in line for. I mean, I don't have an answer for that one, but I have to agree with you. I mean, because your home is your biggest asset that you can utilize. We don't advocate to use it as a piggy bank, obviously, because what is the point of me saving someone $1,000 a month in, consolidating debt if they turn around and they do it 6 months from now? So these are part of the conversations that we have with our clients, being like, hey, we can do X, Y, Z, but obviously, we got to look at it from the future as well. I actually spoke to a gentleman, previous client of mine. He reached me up and he said, Becky, I'm sorry. I made a mistake and I reached out to my current servicer about doing a refinance instead of calling you. And I said, okay, well, what are we talking about now? And he's like, well, I'm 60 days in the transaction. It's been the most painful experience that I've ever been a part of. And your name came across my email and I can't believe that I didn't think to call you first. And I want you to undo the pain that I have been feeling. And, let's try to get this done. So I looked at it and, I'm actually better in everything, in everything that they were doing, which sometimes it's not the case, but I'm going to have that honest conversation. But the fact is that there's a lot of noise out there. Okay. And there's a lot of strangers making those noises for you to distract you from something or someone that you know and you trust. And the point that I'm trying to make is that don't go to the stranger. If you have a good relationship with someone, continue that relationship with someone. If you want a second opinion and you want me to be the second opinion, I'll be the second opinion. Do I want to be your first? Of course, obviously. But, we are here to advocate you. We're not going to just tell you yeses. If it doesn't make sense, we're going to tell you, but you have to start with the conversation at some point in time. And my point is to have it with someone that you trust. And don't get caught up in someone's web of, yeah, we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And they got finger guns and they're doing all those things. And then it's just, they're shooting blanks at you and it was just all for nothing. So we're here to help you. Refinancing does absolutely make sense 9 out of 10 times right now because the rates are great. We're here to help you, whether you want to pull cash out, debt consolidation, or even just do a rate and term because you're paying PMI and you want to take advantage of the fact that the market has appreciated as much as it has. Why not? Because we're going to come in, rates are going to change one day, and that's just how it's going to be. So you might as well not be sitting on the sidelines waiting for this moment to happen because right now is the moment. So let's make it happen.
Excellent. And before we get to you, Kirsten, for your last word of today's podcast, I want to go to John Kolb. And John, give us your last words. We're going into Memorial Weekend. We're coming up on the first major holiday of the summer, where people start getting out, boating, going up north. You're the expert on up north properties here at Capital Mortgage Funding. And what's the last word going into the holiday?
Yeah, enjoy it. Be safe. Have a good time. And just get out there and live life. Don't let these things hold you back anymore. So
there you go. We appreciate that, John. Becky Alley, your last words for today.
Yes, it's going to be Memorial Weekend. I'm excited. I'm excited to see family. I'm excited to see friends. And I'm excited to help our people get into either refinances or purchases. It's supposed to be a beautiful weekend. Hopefully it stays that way, but we're here as a sounding board to give you advice. No matter what you guys need, that's what we're here for. And it's beautiful out. Be a homeowner.
Thank you, Becky. Kirsten Kroh, Keller Williams Living in Brighton, Michigan. Last words for a wonderful podcast. Thank you for joining us today. What's going on for your holiday weekend?
Well, first, thank you for inviting me on the show. It's been a blast. You guys are awesome. But this weekend, I will be showing a couple houses also, of course, because that's what I do, as well as spending some time with the family. So just relaxing and getting some yard work done around our house. So, and all you buyers out there, don't be scared of this crazy market right now, because it's definitely still plausible. You can still get into a house. You don't have to go 30,000 over asking. So, don't be scared away by this market for sure.
Well, we appreciate that advice. You've been a wonderful guest. Kirsten, Kroh, Keller, Williams Living, easy for me to say, in Brighton, Michigan. I'm honored to work with John Kolb and Becky Alley every day. Top 1% of all mortgage originators in the United States. And that's not just the number, everybody. They eat, sleep, and drink, helping their clients, setting them up for success every single day. And I'm honored to work with them almost 24 hours a day. I do get to sleep 3-4 hours a day. I appreciate that, guys. For our producer, Roberto Beauchesne, he's in the booth. He's our producer director. It is May 26th. We will not be having a show on 97.1 FM this Saturday from 9 to 10. We're taking the weekend off. We're going to try to enjoy it with our families. We're going to try to stay safe, but stay happy. I've got some people coming in from out of town that I haven't seen in a while, so I'm looking forward to that. But you can find us here every Wednesday on the Hardcore Mortgage Podcast, and every Saturday, 97.1 FM on 9 to 10. Harvey Freed, the host with the most. Becky Alley, John Kolb, for Kirsten, Kroh, Keller Williams Living in Brighton. I'm Harry Glanz. Thank you very much, and have a safe weekend, everybody.